Yes. Hello, happy Monday. Thank you for bearing with us. As always, we just have a little technical difficulties on our end, but it happens. Blake is here, and I'm
Hi,
very excited
everybody.
that you joined me. I forget where Seth is, but I'm sure I think he's doing like Fringe Fest or something, but he's somewhere
That's
in the
right. Something
world.
like that. Yeah.
Yes. So without further ado, are you ready to get this started?
Yes, we got a lot to talk about.
We do. Okay.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
And welcome to the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and MEI-Travel. I am Carly.
And I'm Blake.
And we are here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news, as well as a little of what's going on in our own lives. So I think we'd be remiss not to mention the dates that were just dropped by Disney Parks. I know we're going to cover this next week more in depth, but let us just shoot this over real quick because I know a lot of you have been waiting maybe to plan your fall travel and whatnot. And now we have a little inkling more of these key point dates. So first up, the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. This is going to kick off August 28th and run daily through November 22nd. So now you can get to planning. Those are kind of the expected dates. Last year, they shifted from like an earlier August start to a little bit later, which I don't mind because it's really hot then. it's rough out there to be shoveling, like hot soup over a trash can in August temperatures. So I'm not mad about it. And then it ends and wraps up right before Festival of the Holidays, which is one of my favorites. Yes. And yes, speaking of holidays, we also have some spooky news. The Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is returning to Magic Kingdom Park, running select nights August 15th through October 31st. So you sweat in your Halloween costume August 15th if you want to be there for opening night. Are you a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party fan?
I am. I haven't been since I think 2019 was my last party, but I do really enjoy that event. And it seems like this year they're gonna try something kind of like Oogie Boogie Bash with villains in the trick or treat trails.
Yes.
So we don't know a ton of details about that quite yet, but they teased that this morning, and I think that's a good call for them.
Yes, I do like Mickey's Not So Scary, but I'm more of an Oogie Boogie Bash girl. I personally don't like to wait in like an hour and a half line for characters.
Mm-hmm.
It eats up a lot of your party time. I know that's a priority for some people. So I like the kind of walking character meet and greet. Right. It's still a great experience where it feels intimate. A lot of times they'll call you out and say fun things. And like you could sort of linger for a second. Plus you get to see them for a bit as you're kind of going through that queue. So like I feel like that's the most important part. And I don't know. I feel like for kids too, like to wait in a line where you don't really know what's going on and then you're shoved in with Cruella, it's probably like a startling feeling.
Yes. No, I distinctly remember I was terrified of a big
really?
meet and greet when I was a kid back in the old Toontown. So probably now that you say that, this is a good option on that front as well. Yeah.
And I'm sure people will, you figure out a way to take your photo this way. It's not, you still can get a picture. It's a little bit different, but I think it's like you get to spend a little bit more time with the character and get acclimated to it. So I love that. And I am sure Disney is going to be dropping all the news and details. And I like that they switch it up because if you want to get people to come back, it's even with Oogie Boogie, I have a hard time. I've been going every single year, but I have a hard time justifying the cost unless there's new experiences.
Right.
These are not cheap. I love it so much and it's a special time of the year, but if there's not enough like new things, it's really hard to get a family to drop $1,000+ on this.
Definitely. Yeah.
For sure. So what's up with our news? I am getting ready to head to Disneyland 70. So very exciting things ahead. And let's get into our news in the queue. kicking things off at Universal Studios Hollywood. They are tapping into nostalgia big time, introducing Universal Mega Movie Summer. This is an all new daily seasonal event coming June 13th through August 10th, and it's all included with theme park admission, and it's surrounding a lot of our favorite nostalgia IPs. What are your thoughts?
This is cool. So this is in California, not in Florida. I know there might be some confusion because the new parade in Florida is called the Mega Movie Parade. So this
I
is
will admit it is confusing. Yes.
different coast, different coast. But this is fun. We're gonna get into the details. I guess it's kind of up to the individual person whether or not like this would justify like, oh, I want to take a trip out there to do this, or if it's just something nice to add if you're already there. But yeah, and it's also, we should note, like, different from the Fan Fest nights. It's not quite as elaborate as that special event that just happened. That was also very nostalgia heavy into some of these movies, some of these same properties. But I think if you're already going to be there, these are fun little additions to your day.
Absolutely. And they're using kind of the same terminology as you mentioned, Fan Fest nights, these in-world experiences, obviously not on a grand scale as the incredible event was. But what you can look forward to is Jurassic World The Ride is going to be getting some upgrades, and that's all tied to the release of Jurassic World Rebirth. So as part of this, there's going to be 4 new spitter dinosaurs, and in addition, a menacing roar will enhance the attraction's 84-foot drop. That sounds scary.
This sounds cool, and I'm hoping that this would stick around maybe after just the summer, especially if it's new dinosaurs. I don't know in what capacity, if it's like animatronics or screen based, or I guess we don't really know quite that much, or maybe we do, but yeah, this portion of their Mega Movie Summer was the most exciting to me personally.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the most like elaborate, where it's like almost an attraction overlay. It would make sense to stick around because who doesn't want more spinning dinosaurs? And on top of that, there's going to be all new dinosaurs and all new adventure characters inspired by the movie. And they are going to be meeting alongside the usuals like Blue. There's going to be a memorable photo op, a scavenger hunt game, which sounds like it could be really fun. And then for foodies, Jurassic Cafe is going to introduce some new dishes, and there's going to be new cocktails at Isla Nubar, which is their little tiki bar there. That's fun. But what I'm most excited about is all the hoopla surrounding the 50th anniversary of Jaws. So very excited. And the movie takes place 4th of July. It has to be part of this special, event that's included with your tickets. And they are going to be bringing back the iconic hanging shark for a photo op. So if you've been to Orlando, you know that Bruce gladly hangs there right next to Shea Alcatraz. So excited this is going to be coming back. And they're going to be debuting also new meet and greet characters, Captain Quint and Chief Brody. So if you saw the parade last summer at Orlando, they went really big into Jaws for a portion of that with walk around characters. So that is going to be so fun for Jaws fans.
Definitely. And they still have their Jaws attraction out there too. So this is on top of that,
Exactly.
We just have memories of that in Orlando.
Yes, so sad. And so basically, like you said, that Jaws Lake attraction, which you pass by on the world famous studio tour, is going to be celebrating July 4th all summer long. So I'm not sure if that means they're going to add some stuff like a hot dog cart, maybe, I don't know, something to enhance the area. That would be really cool. And on the upper lot where Hollywood and Dine is, which is one of the restaurants you first encounter when you enter the park, that is going to be taken over and transformed into MEI Island Cafe with a shark-inspired menu, including seafood dishes like lobster rolls, a vegan crab cake. But what I'm mostly interested in is this shark bite cocktail. So if you're familiar with Orlando, we have our own shark drink at Shea Alcatraz that they do a fun little show with, and they put little grenadine in it like it's blood. So I am so curious how they're going to do this cocktail, if it's going to be the same thing, if it's going to be like a sister drink to it or loosely inspired by it. So I can't wait for that. And then also Back to the Future. We're talking another mega IP that has been part of Universal Fan Fest nights, and they're going to be celebrating the film's 40th anniversary. And the DeLorean Time Machine, which was on the lower lot as part of the studio tour at Universal Fan Fest nights, they're actually moving it to the upper lot. And there's going to be photo ops with Doc Brown, Marty McFly, and Einstein the dog. I got to see him at Fan Fest nights. I didn't wait because the line was insane. Obviously, it's fine. He's adorable, but I did get to like walk right past it and see him, and I'm so excited. It looks like the car is going to be on like a little staged pedestal, which makes me happy because I don't want people to touch it.
Yeah, definitely.
This is why we can't have nice things. And also the menu, which was at 50 Style Mel's Diner, part of Universal Fan Fest nights, is also going to be staying around for the summer. So there was a flux capacitor patty melt, the time machine pastrami melt, and a bunch of other fun drinks and desserts. So I'm happy that's there. And if you want even more, a 730-pound toothless from the live action How to Train Your Dragon, which opens this summer, is going to be there for a dragon size photo op. In addition, the Witches of Wicked are going to greet guests near the main entrance. And what I'm really excited about, I know there's a lot of stuff going on at Universal Hollywood, is Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift roller coaster is going to debut next year, but we're going to be getting a sneak peek at one of the ride vehicles. And this is going to look like Dominic's 1970 Dodge Charger. How appropriate, right? Yeah, so this is very exciting, and this is all going to kick off very, very soon at Universal Studios Hollywood. Again, it is June 13th through August 10th. It is all included in your ticket. Obviously, you have to purchase any of the limited edition merch and food, but I feel like this is a great way, and I'm so glad they're doing this to get people in, and of course, tap into the nostalgia. That's what we as theme park fans have been like craving and also getting recently. So
yeah, especially from Universal, which I think is they're kind of leaning into that more and more. Maybe they saw the success of doing that in Florida last summer and wanting to bring a little bit of that here. And like we said, I think, Fan Fest nights, it seemed like it was such a well done event, but pretty limited window for what those dates were. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. I feel like it just started, and this upcoming weekend is the final week. So I feel like this is a good balance. If you didn't get a chance to head out there for that, but you're making a summer trip, you can still have a little bit of that nostalgia that folks got at that event.
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. I went to opening night of Fan Fest nights. It is amazing. The Jim Henson puppet in Dungeons and Dragons, the lower lot when you go down to the studio tram tour, and then you go to Back to the Future. That activation was insane and elaborate. And then when I was thinking back, I think it only ran for 13 nights, like a crazy small number. And I couldn't believe how much they put into it. And it ran for so short.
Right.
Which is wild. So hopefully it seems like they understand their fans and they are tapping more into that nostalgia. And speaking of nostalgia, there is going to be a new 3-episode Epic Universe docuseries that's premiering on Peacock. It is called Epic Ride, the story of Universal theme parks. And this is going to offer an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at Epic Universe, which opens May 22nd. But also, it's going to go back to the early days and kind of show the story of Universal theme parks using rare archival footage, talking to key figures, directors, celebrities, kind of a lot of people that had that time. And what are your thoughts? I'm really excited.
This is awesome. I love a good documentary. I love a good docuseries. I love reading nonfiction books. Like, I'm all about diving into the people and the artists that make the things that I'm interested in and the stories that we don't really get to hear, especially from Universal. I feel like this is a rarity for them to be producing something like this. I feel like we have such an abundance of Disney docs and books and stuff like that, which are all wonderful, and I'm glad they exist. But I feel like it's very imbalanced in terms of Universal hasn't really, I don't know that there is like a nice coffee table book about the making of Universal, or like, we had the Imagineering story, which was so amazing behind the scenes of Walt Disney Imagineering over the years. And similar documentaries to that over the decades, but I don't know that there's been a kind of completionist view of Universal Creative or Universal theme parks as it seems like this is going to be. So I'm very excited because I feel like there's a lot of stories we don't really know, and there's a lot of rides that we love that we don't know the stories behind how they were made or how they got developed or the challenges that maybe the artists faced along the way. So I'm really excited to that they're doing this, and that we're getting it not right away, but it's still relatively soon, July 24th. So yeah, I'm super pumped about this. How about
Yeah,
you?
I know you're so right, and I'm sure it has to do with a lot of back in the day, people didn't save things. Television
Mm,
shows, when the set was done, you threw it out, and that was just
right.
kind of the way it was. So maybe if there were some garbage pickers that scrounged up some stuff. So I am really excited for this, and I kind of read a little bit about. I think it was the executive producer who created this idea, like conceived the show. He just had an idea and approached Universal. So I hope with the success of this that we'll get more things that dive into the history. The theme park community loves it. That is without a doubt. I mean, I can attest to the number of hours that I have spent on YouTube getting any little crumb I can of old footage. So this is definitely going to be one to watch out for. Again, this is going to premiere on Peacock July 24th, so this summer, and it is going to be a 3-part series. I know we're both going to be watching for sure.
Definitely.
And now another piece of news. This is heading to very far away, tied to some news sort of that we heard last week. But before we get into that, the world's first aquarium submersible, the SeaSub, has opened at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. So if you are not familiar, we're going to be talking more about Abu Dhabi. It is home to a place called Yas Island. It is owned by the Mural Group. I believe that's how you pronounce it, or it's how I've heard it pronounced. And this is a theme park, entertainment, leisure location in Abu Dhabi, about an hour and a half outside Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So this place, Yas Island, I was supposed to be there last week. I had some flight issues, as it happens. But just so people have a better idea, think of it in terms of like a Walt Disney World, where it's this self-contained theme park resort destination. Once you're there, there's over 10 hotels. There's several theme parks, including SeaWorld, Warner Brothers World, and Ferrari World. There's dining, entertainment, whatnot. So they're trying to be this next destination. It's been around for years, over 10 years, and SeaWorld is one of their main parks. And they have innovation there like we don't have in America. I mean, let's be frank, they're like cutting edge, which is going to tie into our, main news later. So let's get into this. So at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, there is now the SeaSub. It is being called a groundbreaking experience with the world's first aquarium certified submersible. So in this all new attraction, which you do have to book in advance and pay, I looked it up. I was doing the conversion, believe it starts around $300 per person, which is honestly much more affordable than I thought this experience would be. I thought it would be way more. And so you are going to go down. This park, a side note, is home to, I believe, like the world's largest aquarium, very technologically advanced aquarium. So in this submersible, you are going to be going down 65 feet to explore the marine life that calls this place home. There are just several people on board with you, including a trained pilot. And this is going to be a 30-minute tour where you see sharks, rays, fish, and it's going to be kind of like an up close and personal experience. Would you do this?
I was thinking about that, and
I
I
know.
knew you were gonna ask. I had a feeling you were gonna ask. I don't know. I would have to think long and hard about it. The idea of it is very cool. I love like aquatic life and all of that. I feel
Mhm.
like is just so interesting, and just the unique type of creatures that are in our oceans and that kind of thing. But it I would have to think about it. The 65 feet, you are with a guide, that would make
Mhm.
me feel better. It's not just like you're on your own and it's like a automated ride system or that kind of thing. Like there is a guide, a pilot with you. The picture almost looks like kind of like the front car of a monorail almost, just without
Yeah.
the other cars behind you, almost that kind of thing. And like it's a clear window, sphere kind of car vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know how you describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think I would do it if I went all the way out there just to do it, but I would definitely be nervous the entire time. I
Right.
mean, we know what happened with another submarine and Titanic not that
Right, right,
long
right,
ago, which is
right.
ever pressed in my mind. I think I would want to do it though because it is incredible to get up close. And have you ever seen the videos of the people doing like the cage thing with sharks off the coast of Africa? You're
No.
basically like in a cage and you come up close to sharks.
Okay.
That is way too risky for me. I'm not doing that. So this feels more like a controlled
Hmm.
atmosphere. I
Hmm.
would be nervous the entire 30 minutes, but then also I'd be like, okay, it's only 65 feet. I can hold my breath if this breaks and I have to like climb up. I don't know. We could be, eaten by sharks in that time, but I don't know. I think I trust that the mechanics are there and they wouldn't offer this unless it was absolutely safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to think about it.
Yes. And speaking of sharks, this is like a perfect. Right? Jaws is returning to movie theaters. We talked about it. It is the 50th anniversary of the film happening this summer, and it's going to be returning to movie theaters around the country for Labor Day weekend, and it's also going to be streaming on Peacock. Are you a big Jaws fan?
I didn't grow up with Jaws, so I don't have like childhood nostalgia for it necessarily, but I do love the film. I've grown to love it in my adulthood and certainly appreciate it as, it's one of Steven Spielberg's earliest films,
Yeah.
if not certainly, within his like first three, I want to say. It's 50 years old, so it came out in 1975, but just so much of what we take for granted in films today, I feel like you can trace it back directly to a lot of the precedents that this set in terms of pacing, in terms of like the whole thing, even behind like the concealment of the monster, and that made it more interesting. You have one of the early John Williams film scores that's so
Mhm.
iconic. So all of these things together that are just like you can trace it back to, oh, that started with Jaws. So I certainly appreciate it from that perspective, and I think it's just so cool to be able to experience some of these older films in a movie theater that you've only ever seen, sometimes on as small of a screen as your phone, and to experience it with other people. That aspect of it, I think, is always so cool. I just saw The Wizard of Oz on the big screen this past
Ah,
weekend, so stuff like that I feel just like is so cool to almost experience the movie in a new way. Not only because it's on a bigger screen, but also because you're with a room full of people and you're hearing other people's reactions to certain things, and some of them reliving it, reliving memories, and other, younger generations experiencing it for the first time is always fun to kind of observe all the different dynamics that are at play there.
right. Yeah. So if you need a bigger screen, not a boat, bigger
That's
screen,
fair. Yeah.
it is going to hit movie theaters this Labor Day weekend from August 29th through September 4th. Additionally, the Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas will play the movie nationwide throughout the summer, beginning a little bit earlier on Memorial Day weekend. And there are going to be fun themed foods. We love a good popcorn bucket and themed merchandise. So you're going to want to head to the website to pre-order it because I believe it's sold out now. So they're going to send out notifications when you could do it, and other fun happenings. Martha's Vineyard is going to be doing a special roadshow with the Alamo Drafthouse, hosting a screening on June 21st. And of course, you could watch it safely from your couch on Peacock. We love Peacock. And if you're at Universal Studios Hollywood, again, you're going to be able to experience it as part of their mega movie summer. So before we get into this week's main attraction, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and MEI-Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI-Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at mei-travel.com.
It's time for the main. It's time for It's time for the main attraction.
This week's main attraction is a big one for Disney fans. Disneyland Abu Dhabi has been announced by Disney and the entertainment company Merrill. This will open a new theme park resort destination. Disneyland Abu Dhabi is the working title. This will be located on Yas Island in the United Arab Emirates. So this was announced last week, and we do not know that much, but it was with great fanfare. And basically the gist is, much like Tokyo Disneyland, this is going to operate in a same situation where that company over there, Merrill Entertainment, they're the leader in family destinations over there. They own Yas Island with the theme parks. They're going to foot the bill and operate the park and its day-to-day operations, while Walt Disney Imagineering will take reins of the creative. So again, this is just like Tokyo Disney Resort, where they have that partnership with Oriental Land Company. No specifics were shared on attractions, but they did share a little bit of details that they're going to be tapping into the rich cultures over there, combined obviously with Disney fan favorite IPs. And it was a lot, you know, they said it's going to be authentically Disney, distinctly Emirati, with timeless characters and stories, but with new interpretations. And of course, this is going to be, or they're promised to be, the most advanced and interactive destination. And again, that comes from a place that is already, their theme parks are really advanced. They have the money to do it. So it could be the sky's limit for Walt Disney Imagineering, maybe to flex their creative muscles in new ways. Yes. So that was the big news. Thoughts, feelings?
Yeah, so this is a very big deal. I think we haven't really seen this type of setup before, even in terms of like, I think the Orlando trained theme park fan, this is something that is very different from the type of like Disney versus Universal versus SeaWorld, that kind of competitor vibe, because as you mentioned earlier in the show, all these parks are relatively within kind of like the same resort destination.
Yeah, so basically you take an internal shuttle. You could also walk, but it's about like everything is with like 10 to 15 minutes on a shuttle going around this huge resort.
Mhm.
You know, like SeaWorld is right next to Ferrari World. So it is that kind of self-contained thing that obviously works out at Walt Disney World, you know?
Mhm. So I say that to say, like, I think it's just the Orlando trained fan. I think it would just be so it would take getting used to be there and be like, well, here's SeaWorld right next to Disney World, and they have the same owner slash operator, you know, behind it. But that's all just very interesting and different. And then kind of like what Seth was talking about in last week's episode, in terms of like, when we get a new piece of concept art, how detailed is it before there's any sort of formal
Right.
announcements about what rides or even what stories and franchises they're building on, even in comparison to last week, we kind of dived into the Tokyo Disneyland Adventureland concept art.
Mhm.
That was much more defined even than even in its earliest phase as it is now. That is much more defined than the concept art we got for Disney Abu Dhabi, in terms of like, these are very, very broad brushstrokes. You know, if you're looking at it from like a painting perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
Very difficult to kind of make out, like, even like in the comparison to Tokyo, again, we were able to see like, okay, maybe that's an Incredibles ride, or there's balloons, maybe that's connected to Up. Nothing that detailed here so far. So, you know, we can see that there's a castle, a different looking castle. It looks a little bit different than the traditional medieval style that we usually see at Disney Magic Kingdom style parks. But that's really all we know about it. We know, you know, and it's been a long time since a Disney theme park has opened. The most recent one was Shanghai in 2016. So by the time this opens, it will almost, I was kind of doing the math before the show to figure out, I still think there will be a bigger gap from the time that Disneyland opened in 1955 to Magic Kingdom in 1971. That was 16 years. I don't think this is quite going to be that long of a gap. But it's certainly, you know, whenever it opens, it will have been quite a while since the last Disney theme park opened.
Absolutely. And so many people were saying, why Disney and Abu Dhabi? So there was a great talk with CEO Bob Iger, who has emphatically endorsed this location. And so basically the location, I looked at some of the numbers. So it is within, so you have major airports of Dubai and Abu Dhabi that have record-breaking numbers of travelers globally that pass through. So it is easily accessible. Also, it's easily accessible by 1/4 of the world's population within a 4-hour flight. That's no joke. That's big numbers for the amount of people that could get there in under 4 hours. Maybe this park isn't for US. Maybe it is for the people that are over there. We have seen the numbers that Disney Plus has pulled in the Middle East, and it's like staggering. We have seen now Disney stores popping up in Dubai. I think at the Dubai Mall, a Disney store has popped up. So these, families over there, their kids, maybe they're making big time connection with Disney characters. And I'm sure all of this has played into the choice in this as being the next destination for a major Disney resort. So it is very fascinating. They had the quarterly earnings call last week where they kind of went a little bit more deep on all of these and what, they have said that they over there, Abu Dhabi appreciates the history and legacy of Disney. So that is going to be something that it's going to be careful in moving forward with this project. And also Disney has to appreciate the cutting edge innovation that is available to them out there. So it is really an interesting meeting up. It's really interesting if, young kids over there watch Disney Plus, but they haven't been able to come to Florida. Maybe this is their chance to be able to experience a Disney theme park, a world-class Disney theme park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just a lot. It's weird because it's such a big announcement, but we have so little to talk about it. It's like there is a theme park, but we really don't know anything else. So anything else beyond that, I feel like is kind of, I don't know, what kinds of things would you want to be here in terms of like, do you think that it would be more like attractions that are built from the ground up, like just for this park, or would you want to see anything brought over from another park that's like, oh yes, if they're building a Disney theme park, they got to have XYZ?
That's a great question. I am hoping it's a mashup of, classic Disney attractions that people know and love. And then also, since they're going to have these resources and capital to build new attractions, even if we never get over there to experience them, that means Disney can essentially clone it because they'll have the whole blueprint and the work put into it. They can clone it here in the States for us. So I think that alone makes it, really, appeasing to all of them to have the resources for Walt Disney Imagineering to, flex their muscles. Let's see what we could do next. I would love, this is obvious, but like an Aladdin thing, I would love like a good Aladdin, dark ride. Really kind of, I think the sky is the limits. And I bet you, that's kind of what they're feeling as well. What about you?
Yeah, so I haven't visited any of the international parks. So, I mean, I am somewhat familiar with their lineup, and, I've been to Disneyland and Disney World. So I have seen at least one difference of like, oh, this is the same attraction, but it's different, or they changed this, or they kept that.
Mm-hmm. That's so fun. Yeah.
But yeah, so certainly I am surprised that the Shanghai Pirates hasn't been duplicated anywhere. That kind of it's much more high tech, it was built in 2016, so it's not an attraction from the 60s as it is at Disneyland. So you would kind of expect it to be more high tech, but it's very different from the traditional Pirates of the Caribbean dark ride format. I would be interested to see if they adapt some of those in that same spirit, if there are Disneyland standards like the Haunted Mansion or Pirates of the Caribbean that maybe longtime Disney fans might expect to be at a Disneyland park in some capacity. But if you were to start those from the ground up in 2025, obviously it's not going to open in 2025, but if you're looking at it in modern times, would you just copy and paste, or would you want to abridge it not only for modern technology, but also for the local audience in a different way? All that kind of dynamics are, I think, interesting to think about.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up a good point, like with the cultural thing, Afterlife, I'm not sure. I'd have to dig deep on their thoughts on Afterlife. So that would mean the Haunted Mansion would have to be modified like it is in other international parks where, you don't discuss afterlife and whatnot. So all those little nuances will make this definitely an interesting project to follow. I know in the coming years, we're going to be talking about it a lot as it progresses. You know, it hasn't broken ground yet. They just basically had kind of like a big blowout announcement last week. The very little that we know, including that crazy castle that looks like made of crystal, definitely different than any of the, you know, European style German castles that we have seen, the fairy tale thing. So I know this is going to be a park that we are talking about for years to come, and we shall see, and we will be, you know, up to date on everything. So before we go, we want to thank our sponsors, MEI and MEI-Travel. And I want to remind everyone to please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to us. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow all of us here at Attractions at attractionsmagazine.com and search Attractions on your favorite social media accounts. I know our publisher, Matt, and I will be at Disneyland 70 kickoff this week, so I know we'll be sharing a bunch of what's going on out there, including Duffy making his debut in the cavalcade, which I am like I'm so excited for. All the merch, 70 plus new foods. There's definitely a lot going on. So give us a follow across socials, and you can follow me at Adventures by Carly. Blake, thank you so much for joining us this week. I always love having you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so thank you all for tuning in this lovely Monday. And until next week, I hope everyone stays safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. We will see you next time. Bye.